All right. My name is Aaron Rhodes, and you're listening to the Shuttlecock podcast. We're sponsored by the Vinyl Underground at 7th Heaven, offering new and used vinyl at 76th and True in Kansas City, Missouri. Today on the show, we have Daniel Gum. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. So, you and me, we go back a little bit.
Yeah.
California Trail Middle School, Olathe East High School.
Yeah.
Go Bulldogs, go Hawks.
So loyal.
School pride.
School pride.
But yeah, I mean, I know, like, we haven't always been, like, close friends per se,
Right.
but, like, we've, I feel like connected at various times through music and just, like, mutual friends and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can kind of just start with, like, okay, so your little Spotify bio says you've been making music since you were 12.
Yeah.
You've been,
Yeah.
and it says like you've been self-recording a lot too. Like,
yeah.
did you start recording yourself when you were like 12, 13?
Yeah. My dad probably got I think we got like a Mac Mini when I was probably like 9 or 10. And there's embarrassing stuff like from then where I would just like, there was all those loops, and so I just put that in. I didn't play any instruments yet. And so I just like put in those loops and then just like auto-tune sing like just whatever like over it, just like make up stuff. And like I could just go for like 15 minutes and just like make up anything.
And just freestyling.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of it. And then like I just found this old like family video of my like 10th birthday, and I got my like first guitar.
Yeah, I saw that the
Yeah.
other day. That was funny. It was on your Instagram.
I was obviously very psyched about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just played, and I wrote my first song in like 6th grade, and it was like a breakup song, and it was pretty funny. It was called In Love All Over Again.
Ooh.
Yeah, my 6th grade teacher, well, you didn't go to my school, but a 6th grade teacher, we had to try out for the talent show. And so I played her that song, and she had like the lyric sheet, and it's like she was laughing while I was playing, and I'm like bearing my soul, and she's laughing, and I'm like, I was like in the moment, I was like, I don't get this. But like looking back, like I can't imagine seeing a 6th grader like hand you a song called In Love All Over Again. And the first line's like, in my room with one light on, like making a playlist of breakup songs. And so that's where it all began.
That teacher should not be in charge of a talent show. That's
seriously
very disheartening.
Yeah, it's so messed up. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much where it started. Yeah.
And you play guitar, bass, and piano?
Yeah.
Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, I played drums. I'm not very good, but I played drums on that album I made in high school. And so.
But have you've been doing guitar the longest? Is that like kind of?
Yeah. Guitar's where it started, and then I started piano like a couple years after that. Yeah.
Is guitar usually kind of like where you start when you end up writing new songs and stuff?
Yeah. Like right now, I'm like I found Elliott Smith for myself like my freshman year of college, and I was like it hit me at like the perfect time because I just had a bunch of like stuff go down, and like was just like I felt pretty like alone and disconnected. And I still remember I was like driving back to KU after winter break and like listening to Either Or and just being like, okay, like feeling like so connected to somebody that I've never like known. And so that really like stoked a fire to write more like that and to focus more on like connection than like, I don't know, like preaching or like making stuff that's like prescriptive. So that's where I started. And now when I write stuff, it's always just like I like sit down with like my notepad and like a guitar and just mess around for a few hours, see if anything happens.
Oh, yeah. So what were some of like the like earlier like influences of yours? Like what made you want to like ask for a guitar and like start goofing around on your own and writing music?
I think the earliest stuff, it's kind of like, so I'm the youngest of 4 boys. My dad has like, the joke in our family is that we didn't know about any other music except for Beatles and like U2 growing up. Like that's all that was on. So my dad's like a huge Beatles fan. Always like had the guitar around the house. Like So there's always a guitar around, and there's like pictures of me like when I was like 2 or 3, just kind of like, it was just fun to like strum around. But a big influence was my older brother Brian, who like got really into like in junior high, was super into guitar and like just looked so cool to me. And so it started there, where it's just like I want to be that person who has a guitar. But once I started writing, it totally took a turn where it's like, okay, this is like something I need. Like I need to be doing this for myself. And so, yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
Cool.
Oh yeah, and I think kind of shortly after I met you, you were writing songs with Mark under the name Peaceable Alaska.
Yeah.
Those are your little duo songs you had, and they were kind of like acoustic, kind of indie pop stuff.
Yeah.
And like, is there like a ukulele on like some of those songs or something like that?
There probably is. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past us. Yeah.
But yeah, when did you first like get to know Mark, and like, because you guys were in Pillow most recently too, and
so yeah, that's incredible. Mark and I have known each other like, there's a picture of our moms like fully pregnant, like touching bellies, like, and that's me and Mark. And so I've known Mark my whole life. Our dads grew up next door to each other. And so there's like old like Super 8 videos of like them like wrestling in the front yard. And so I've known him forever. And so we were just always like buddies. And then once we got into music stuff is when we really like became really good friends. And it turns out I was at that point we started doing Peaceable Alaska stuff, but then I started kind of like whatever need for like control or like needed to be my own thing, whatever like pride was in there, kind of like led it to being my own thing. But so that's actually what made it so good about getting into Pillow. Was we finally got to like be in a band together, and since I was like just the bassist, I get to just like go along for the ride. And so but we've known each other forever. And
or what were like some of the first like artists and stuff that you guys were like kind of into together, like when you were like first figuring out music that you were into?
At that age, I was all over the place. I'm trying to think of like direct influences. Man, I can't even think. It was a mess at that point in my life. I think something that was like, that caught on, like, I remember hearing Chicago by Sufjan, and that was the first time I heard a song that was like, oh my God, like, what is that? Like, that's freaking incredible. And so I think that really stoked it. But as far as what was influencing me then, I don't know. I listened to kind of like some emo-y, like influenced like Christian music. Like probably like, oh shoot, what's that band? It's a super popular like pop punk Christian band.
MXPX?
Oh no, it's
Reliant K.
Reliant K.
There we
go. Listen to a lot of Reliant K. That was probably in there. Mark really liked this is probably we both were like Switchfoot at that point in time. And so like nothing crazy, but that was influencing us at the time.
Gotta start somewhere.
Start somewhere for real. You only know what you know.
Oh yeah, so once you were, I think it was like right after we graduated high school, you put out your album Reorient, and you said you recorded all the instruments on that. You did drums and guitar and everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is like kind of religious in nature.
Yeah.
Like what were some of like the themes and like ideas you had when you were working on that?
Yeah, so the whole thing, like the reason it's called Reorient is kind of like the newest EP, Moon, is like, it's pretty sad, as you said when you texted me. It's like, that's the stuff I feel like I've been, like, ever since 6th grade when I wrote that freaking breakup song. It's like, just like a feeling of like loneliness and disconnection. And so that's something on that record was like, that's where I was starting from, is all these feelings. But at that point in time, I had a really cool group of people at this church I was going to, and a really like cool leader there who was like, I don't know, it just changed my life. And it was like, so that whole album's about like this kind of like transformation of like loneliness and disconnection to like peace and connection, you know? And so that was most of that. But I think what has, I've kind of moved away from that because I think it ended up being like too prescriptive, where I was like, I'm coming to the conclusions for like anyone who listens to it. And kind of realizing how much more powerful it is just to like, I don't know, write a line or like create a story that like so connects with you or so like resonates with someone like so perfectly that means, I don't know, it means so much just to be able to feel like heard and seen. And so I think I started there where I needed to explain my whole movement, but now I think I like it a little bit more veiled and a little bit more like other people have to make their own conclusions, which is what I like about whatever artist I listen to now. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, and there is like throughout all of your music, I think there is a lot of like kind of reflection and like just kind of being honest with, you know, the songs you write. But I think, the way that you kind of like the conclusions you come to through it have kind of changed, and the way you approach like what you want to get across is probably a little different at this point.
Yeah.
You know, as it kind of should be like several years later on. So
yeah, it's
nice.
A little bit of difference from like 16 to 22.
a little bit, you know. A few things change. But earlier this year, you were in a band called Pillow.
Yeah.
And you guys released an album called Drug You Along, or is it?
Yeah, Drug You Along.
And I really love that album. That like, and you like, so you guys did play a last show several months ago.
Yeah.
And you had played like maybe like 10 shows total, 5 shows.
5 shows, yeah.
Okay, and I was honored that the first Kansas City show could happen at my house because you guys played Chicago for your first show.
Yeah.
With Half Noise, which is a member of Paramore's new band.
Yeah, the leader of Half Noise, I think, is like was like one of the co-founders of Paramore.
Yeah. Is it like one of the Pharaoh guys, or is it someone else?
Yeah. Oh, jeez, I can't.
I'm not big on Paramore. So.
Yeah.
no, they're great, but not my personal big thing.
Yeah.
But no, how did that first Chicago show happen?
That was so cool. Like, once we had so all 5 of us, is like Mark, Ben, Josiah, and Carlos, and then me. Like because for a long time it was Carlos, Ben, and Mark, and they were just jamming. And then at Mark's wedding, Carlos and Mark like came up to me and like, hey, like want to drum in our band? And so I ended up drumming, and then Carlos and I switched, and then we brought Josiah in. But so by that point, like once I was playing bass and once Josiah came in, like it just like it felt so good. Like it just like everything kind of like clicked into place, and then we all just got along really well. And so it's like we drove like 16 hours round trip to play a 20-minute set. But it was so freaking cool. So we just got to hang out. We spent like the whole weekend in Chicago. And then we played on this like really cool strip, and there was like Half Noise is pretty big in Chicago, and so there was like a line out the door, and so it was just like, I don't know, it was just like a ridiculous first show, and like so much fun just because you're in a new city, and like, I don't know, it was just great. Yeah, that whole thing was really cool, like a really good like bonding thing for all of us.
You get home to a grand welcome, and you play my basement for about 30 or so people. Very fun.
Yeah. Dude, no, that show was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you guys were into it.
Yeah.
And it was with Pink Thing and Unforgiven 5.
Yeah.
Cool little gig. And knowing you guys had the all-white get-ups going on, I appreciate a band that can, that can get into their visual look like that. Especially as, like, I don't know, like, it didn't feel gimmicky. It felt like just more like it did just kind of line up with what you guys were doing sonically, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Especially being named Pillow, too.
Yeah. No, there are like a few songs on the album that kind of nodded to that, to the name. And like, and it is kind of like a lot of the songs are kind of like tranquil and while still, like it's tranquil but not boring, So
right.
that's what you gotta aim for.
Yeah, it's kind of cool with like fuzz on like everything on like guitars and like distorted bass. What distortion does, it like totally flattens out the signal, so you don't have all these up and downs. Like, so I don't know, like My Bloody Valentine stuff. It's like feels really intense, but it also feels like totally calming because there's like so little dynamic change.
Mm.
And so it's kind of a funny spot when you get like that distorted. It's kind of almost like feels good, like level playing. So
I got engineer Daniel here explaining me the. No, I like this stuff.
yeah.
No, yeah. So what I did want to ask too was like there are these very kind of concrete like sonic aesthetics that you guys kind of stuck to on the album. Like I would have to guess that like it was discussed a lot before you guys did like write anything or like while you were writing, like it would probably go like 5 different directions.
Right. Yeah. Carlos was like the main drive of all that. Like he was like he has such a vision for everything and has like 1,000 ideas for every song. And he's just like the stuff he believes in is so intense about. So what like came out was like felt pretty cohesive to us, even though the songs are somewhat different. But like he knew what he wanted. He knew what he wanted us to like be like. You know, that's why we were wearing all white. It's just like that's what he saw. So we're like, okay, we're doing that. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, and so and there were kind of like the new wave and like simultaneously like these post punk elements to it too. Like your bass line on Fuzzy is like a really cool nod to like kind of the like 70s 80s post punk stuff. While like no, I think I was looking back at all of like the web stuff I could find on you guys, and I watched Sid from Too Much Rock's video, and like in his little description he was like, yeah, it's like the dangerous kind of atmosphere of post-punk with these really kind of fun new wave pop like sense or songwriting styles. So I think that summed it up really well, and to have like such a cohesive visual look to it too is like, you know, it's kind of a full package, like very early on in a band's run is kind of cool to see. Yeah,
it was cool.
So what else did I have here? Yeah, so you were just telling me before we were recording that the band may not be over forever as we may have thought, because you guys, what was the last show you guys played? You and like you were together like less than a year, right?
The band it's like from where it started to when it ended was about 2 years. I was in it for a little over a year. Josiah, like, he was only in it for, like, only got to be a part of it for like 4 months, which kind of sucked. But yeah, so it was basically just ended up being kind of like a 2-year stint, like a 1 year of kind of like working towards that album. Yeah. But yeah, that last show was really cool. It was at the Maston Presents house. And we actually have video of that show that I hope we like put online soon. I think Carlos has it, but we should have video of the whole show. So I hope we get to put that out because that show was super fun.
Oh yeah, and you had like 1 or 2 Rhino shows. Well,
we just had one. Yeah. That was pretty sweet too. Yeah.
And no, yeah. So you were telling me that you still had like a big, like an album's worth of songs when you guys decided you were going to be done. And that was just because like everyone dealing with like family stuff and getting busy and everything. Yeah. But so you told me you are working on another album to release, even if like the band doesn't get super active again, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
And you engineered the first album, and you'll be working on this one too.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Is that like some of like aside from your own your solo music, is that like the first like engineering that you've done personally?
Yeah, that was the first like real thing I did for like a different, like someone else's stuff. Like that was the first time, and taking it really seriously, like this is gonna be released, and that was perfect because I didn't know if I'd be like any good at it, and so I kind of got to like test it out with my own band, and so you have that kind of rapport. So if it goes poorly, then you're like at least like not screwing someone over.
And was there also like a lot of discussion, like like kind of in the way that you wrote the songs, like was there that same kind of intense discussion about how like the record should sound
Yeah.
while you're recording?
It wasn't like, by the time we got in the studio, we had kind of like worked through a lot of that. But it was definitely like, it felt like there was a lot of urgency to get it out, but there was, at the same time, as like we weren't going to release stuff if it was still like bothering us. And so there was definitely like stuff we wanted to nail down. Like I remember like the bass line on Fuzzy, like you mentioned, that took like a few passes through to be like, okay, now that's good. So.
Was it a pretty like extended process then while you were like working on recording and everything then?
It wasn't too okay, so the incredible thing is like when we started like on a Monday night, like people had work, and so everyone came over to my house and we're like, okay, we're gonna start on drums tonight. So I took an hour to set up drums, and I'm like, I live in my parents' basement, and so I'm like, okay, we got till 10 to like work on this. And so we like set up drums for an hour, and then we had like 4 hours, like 6 to 10 to like track drums. And Carlos drummed on the album, and he freaking knocked out all 8 songs in those 4 hours. And so, man, I don't even know where this question was.
Was it like a lengthy process?
Oh, right.
Doing all the recording?
So everyone, like, we had like practiced so much that once we got like recording it, it was pretty much we knocked everything out. I did the bass stuff and like whatever vocal stuff I did, like just by myself. And probably the longest process was just mixing it and making sure everything like felt really good. But yeah, it wasn't too long of a process. I think everyone was just like working with like constricted schedules, but it didn't feel like it was drawn out. Yeah.
What did Carlos kind of like tell you guys, like when like he kind of like was pitching like the band to you guys, or like was telling you about how he wanted everything to sound? Like what were those talks kind of like?
Specific, like, so the whole band started because he was like, I want to start like a shoegaze band. And so he had drum, and he like just the totally like fuzzed out, like pretty like heavily affected guitars was like a big part of it. And even like mixing, he wanted like vocals quieter, and even like drum, like guitars up pretty high. Yeah, and like stuff that was so cool about that band is that was the third band he's like been in, and so has some wisdom as far as like he's like I don't want to be a band where like everyone has to play all the time. He's like, I want to be a band that's like totally committed to the song, and I think that's what made Pillow so special for me, because it was like everyone was like, we want this thing to work. Like I don't need, like no one needed to like get their solo in, like, which feels so good to be like part of a band and be like so committed. So that was like a lot of what those talks were about, was just kind of like knowing what we wanted to do and like make it all about the music and not people's egos.
No, yeah, I even like wrote in my notes here while I was like getting ready. I was like, this band is like the opposite of like four or five guys getting together and being like, let's jam. Let's just jam and have fun, dude.
Yeah.
We'll write songs. It'll be cool. Like,
totally. Yeah.
Like there's a mission and a goal and something like a style you really want to achieve and kind of perfect. So
yeah, it's cool. Like especially like the drums on that whole album. Like there's songs where the drums are just like like the whole time, and it's like that's just like it's not like super fun to play. It's fun when you like get in a good groove, but it's like it's only great because it makes the song great, you know.
Did that lead to you getting bored like at all when you were playing, like
when we were playing like live?
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
Like my bass stuff was pretty fun. When I was like, I'm not like a strong enough drummer to like hold stuff down, so when I practiced, that was definitely an issue. But like playing live, it's the whole like commit to the song thing. It was just like when we're all locked in, it feels good. Like even if I'm playing like the same bass line over and over, it doesn't matter. And especially playing bass, like all I'm trying to do is like get right in with like the drums, because I know that just like that's the best feeling. So yeah, so it's pretty much the same.
You only did 5 shows though, so maybe you'll end up getting bored eventually.
Yeah, maybe you'll get bored.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. If we went on tour or something.
Yeah, is this new group of songs that you guys have for the next recording, is it really like different at all from the first set you had, or were they kind of worked on at the same time?
There's there was a lot of overlap. There's the new stuff is a little bit more like spread out. There's some songs where we kind of went like really dry, trying to like channel some like stroke stuff, and then there's stuff that we're going like pretty experimental on. Like that whole first EP was like every song was like, let's speed it up as fast as we can go, and then let's like cut it shorter than it should be. And so I think on this one we're gonna try to like be a little bit more experimental and kind of like indulge ourselves more with like long instrumental stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's probably part of the new direction. I can't really tell you. It's all up to Carlos, really.
Gotcha. Are there any other like concrete plans for the band or the album or anything?
Not really. Yeah. It's still like we know we want to do it, but it's still a little bit up in the air. Mm. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, since Pillow has kind of gone on hiatus, you've been working on more solo stuff. You mentioned you have your new EP called Moon coming out this Friday.
Yeah, this Friday the 7th.
Cool. And that's a 3-song EP.
Yeah.
And
short and sweet.
Yeah. And like unless I like missed like some kind of reference on it, like you were kind of saying it is like a more kind of secular, like at least lyrically.
Yeah. I'm not talking about God.
Release for you.
Yeah.
So was that kind of like a conscious decision you made? Because like your EP last year, I'm Not Dead, that had like a couple like kind of more subtle references. So it's you kind of have like been evolving to this point, right?
Yeah, I think it's not so much like a decision, but just like it just feels like a change of taste, like what I think is worth writing about, you know, like whatever like relationship I have with God is still gonna like affect everything I do, but it doesn't. There's no agenda anymore, you know. So I think that feels good and freeing.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like one of those, like, show, don't tell things. And
totally. You said it better than I could have.
But, no, yeah, and, like I was saying earlier, your songs always have been, like, very honest, but I think your talent for, like, imagery in your lyrics and stuff like has grown, and I think that's what makes this EP my favorite like solo work of yours so far, is because it does combine that honesty that's always been there, but your lyrics have like kind of, you know, just evolved to the point where like it is like everything that needs to be there and like nothing extra, while providing like that imagery you need. Like I think you've learned kind of early, like, less is more at this point. Because these songs are, like, kind of acoustic based mostly, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, this thing especially is, like, super stripped down. It's, like, acoustic guitars, accordion, a little bit of piano, and, like, tons of background vocals.
Yeah.
But yeah, less is more. That's totally the way I'm going right now. Feels good.
Oh, yeah, and even, like, on your last EP, there were, like, those kind of electronic drums and like kind of flourishes on some of that stuff. So you think it is just mostly a reflection of like what you're like music that you really like at this point?
Yeah, I think it's like it feels like that old EP was almost like all the instrumental stuff on that was like me messing around in my dorm room, like, which is fun. Like, it's fun to just, like, be jamming and, like, mess around with, like, sounds and, like, putting it all together. But this time around, I'm, like, I feel really committed to, like, I really hope I can write a song that I could play on acoustic guitar and sing, and people, like, wouldn't get bored. And so, which is hard to do. And so, it's been way more work than I've ever put into anything. But it's way more rewarding, and it's a good challenge. Like, it doesn't make me bored either. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you have plans to, like, it'll be on like all the streaming services and everything? But do you have plans for like a physical release, or like are you doing like release shows or anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to put together a house show. Nothing on the books yet, but yeah, nothing. I'm not doing anything physical for this thing because it's like, it's literally 8.5 minutes long, and so I don't want to like give people CDs so they can listen to it 3 times like on their way to work.
Yeah.
And especially because I'm planning on starting on a full length in January, and so hopefully I'll have like a 40-minute thing by the end of next year. So that's the goal.
What have you like? I don't know. Like, what thoughts do you have going into that already? Like,
Yeah.
Like, how have you kind of? How do you view like the EP now that it's done and ready to be released and everything? And like, how do you view it in like the context of like where you want to go with things?
Right. I think the main goal for that EP was like I wanted to show people what I was working on right now, because I played a house show, and after the show, the people who played last, they're like, hey, like, where can we like find your music? All the songs I played were like new songs. And they're like, where can we find it? I was like, I have a couple things like up. I'm not really proud of them. Like I don't hate them, but it's just like, I think that's everyone just gets excited about like what they're doing right now. But I want to start pushing my stuff more. Like, I'm working on it full time, and so I was like, I want to put something out there that's more like current in what I'm doing, and something to show people. Like, it's kind of like a little taster. And so, yeah, that was what that EP is, and that's also the reason why I just did it like so acoustic and like stripped down, because I think for a full length, I've been like really inspired by Either Or by Elliott Smith, and like even Harvest by Neil Young, and some other like early 70s recordings where it's like, I don't know, it's rock and roll, but it's not like super intense, and it's just like, especially like drums and bass are just kind of like holding things down, and it's really all about like the songs like shine through and see how simple I can get and make something interesting and worth listening to. And so I think that's the goal for the next LP.
No, yeah, I think there's something to be said about like focusing in on writing like a great song like just on its own first, and then, you know, down the line, like you're playing it live and you add all of these extra instruments and elements, and you kind of let it evolve and stuff. But like, I think a lot of people get kind of caught up like making a great, like this amazing like giant recording first, and like the art of the songwriting itself can kind of get lost in there probably.
I think sometimes it totally gets lost, like whether it's like overproduction or just like not enough revising, which is revising is painful.
How long did you work like recording and revising and writing like the songs on the CP?
How long did I work on it? So that the first song, like Andrew, that song was when I started like really working on my solo stuff. That song came pretty like early on. Is that your phone?
Oh, that's my computer. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay.
But so that song came pretty early on, and the other 2 songs were just like a couple more. But like actually recording it, I got to record with Mike Crawford. He has a little studio at like Jacobs Well in Midtown. And so I would just come in on Mondays, and probably for 2 months I'd come in on Monday, work for like 6 hours. And then that was all the recording. And I probably spent like 60 hours mixing it, as like, I just like couldn't stop revising stuff. So I mixed it a lot. And so in total it's probably like 80 hours working on it. But it was sweet. Like every time I got to the like, I'm used to like when I record myself, like I like have to like run to a room, like press record, run to another room, like sit down, like get my guitar in the right spot, like put the headphones on, and I'm like, okay, and then like clicks coming in, and then like hit the wrong chord immediately, and so you have to like take the headphones off, put the guitar down.
Having an engineer can kind of
oh my gosh
rein that stuff in and make it go a little quicker.
Yeah, and like I would just settle for like crappy parts because I was like so annoyed, and so like just came to sit in there, and he has all this nice gear that I get to run it through. I was telling him like really early on, we were just recording guitar. I was like, I feel like I made it, you know, like just getting to like, because I've recorded myself forever, and it was just so cool to have someone who's giving me like immediate feedback and like, hey, you need to do that again. And like, I don't know, I just really was able to like engage and like do something I felt more proud of than anything I've done. And so.
Oh, yeah, and you say Mike is like involved with Jacob's Well also?
Yeah, he's the worship pastor there, and he's like made a few records. They're pretty sweet. They're like super different for any like when you think about like Christian music or like Christian songs, they're actually good. They're not like crappy.
Are you involved in any way with the music they do there, or is it, or do you just like attend and like do your own thing?
I started when I got there like sophomore year of high school, and the best thing about Jacob's Well is like I think they have the best music like of any church you'll go to. Like everyone who's up there, there's like a group of like 40 to 50 musicians, and so it just like cycles around. So every week it's different, and everyone has their own taste, and like it's never boring. No song is ever played like the same way twice. And so it's a really cool environment to just like, it's not like shameful to like really try to make something cool and special, and it's more encouraged. But yeah, so I started leading there, and I've played bass and like played piano, and it's cool. It's just cool to like get to play with a bunch of people you'd never play with, and especially like when I lead songs, like the songwriter part of me that really loves like arranging stuff and like how is everything gonna work together really well has been cool just to like, I don't know, for songs I don't like as much when I hear them and I'm like gonna go play them, I can like kind of mess around with them and like make them my own, and also I can play like Sufjan songs there, so that makes it a whole lot better. Yeah.
Can people just show up on most Sundays and see you playing there, or?
Yeah, probably not most Sundays, but I probably play at least once a month. So yeah, I'm around.
Yes. Yeah. No, and you also helped record Chloe Jacobson's new album.
Yeah.
Were you like the main like engineer on that, or?
It was kind of like half and half. I probably did 4 of the songs on there and did a lot of the mixing and kind of. I feel like I got to just kind of be a part of like Chloe like working it out and like making it what she really wanted. And I kind of did the final mixing and got everything like sequenced, and I actually ran it through like a 4-track cassette recorder, and so it kind of has all those cool like artifacts to make it sound like really warm and like distorted. But it came out cool. I had a lot of fun working on it.
How did you first meet Chloe and everything?
Yeah, I actually met Chloe. So Ben, who was in Pillow, he introduced me to her and was like, "Hey, she's looking for someone to like work on this album with." And I was like, "Okay." And I looked her up on Spotify, and she had that song "National News." I was like, "Okay, yeah, I want to work with her because that song's incredible." And so that's how we got connected. And it was really funny. Like, it's funny. I recorded like my parents' house, and so it's always a little bit awkward. And I'm like, "Hey," like. My parents are upstairs, like, making dinner. I'm like, yeah, I'm downstairs. So it's funny. But she showed up, and it was, like, pretty much right away. We just kind of, like, clicked and got along really well. And so it was super enjoyable, and she's hilarious and fun to hang out with and a great musician. So that whole thing was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's that album called, if anyone wants to?
Frozen Fruit.
Frozen Fruit. And that's on streaming everywhere? And
Yeah, I think it's everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome.
As far as I know.
Are there any other like recording projects that you're working on soon that you have?
Not too much. Right now I'm mixing La Chancla's album, which is gonna be sweet. It's cool. Their stuff's like a little bit heavier, and like it's just cool to totally get out of my own genre and like just make stuff sound as good as I can. So I think that'll be a pretty sweet album. And then besides that, like, for my solo stuff, I'm just, like, committing to writing as, like, many songs as I can. And so I've been trying to work up, like, 30 demos before I go, like, record it. And so that's the only other, like, recording stuff I'm doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any? Are any of the other guys from Pillow or like that like working on other projects and stuff that people should know about? Or what's Mark up to?
What's Mark up?
I haven't seen Mark.
Mark just had a
the
baby.
show. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So Mark is
A
hanging
project,
out.
you could say.
Yeah, a human.
They collabed.
That's such a weird word. A human project. No. Yeah, so he's busy being a dad. I think Ben and Josiah are pretty busy guys, and Carlos is really busy. He does a lot of photo stuff and stays really busy doing that. And so for all 5 of us together, it's really just Pillow. That's kind of like what we're all working towards.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Are there any other like musicians or artists out there that people should look out for work from right now that you're excited about locally?
Man, I don't know. I really love what Chloe's doing. I don't know if she has any shows coming up. Yeah, LeChonkle's cool. Man, I'm not plugged in enough.
That's all right. But yeah, where can people find you online and everything?
Yeah, I'm on, I have my stuff on Bandcamp and, SoundCloud, and, yeah, everything will be on, Spotify and Apple Music, and it's pretty easy to get it everywhere these days, so should be everywhere.
You're on Instagram and Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, Instagram is just, danielgum.mp3, and then my SEO is pretty high with the Daniel Gum. It works pretty well.
Not too many Daniel Gums out there.
Yeah, not too many. There's a few, but not too many. So many have friended me on Facebook. It's so weird. Anyway.
But yeah, people can follow at Shuttlecock Mag on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can get merch at shuttlecockmag.bigcartel.com and view our articles at shuttlecockmusic.com. Make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcast and YouTube. And we're also on Spotify now, so make sure you follow Shuttlecock Podcast on Spotify and leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you're watching it. Help us out with that. But yeah, I appreciate you being on the show today, Daniel.
Dude, it was fun. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.